You're listening to From Stillness, an audiobook for a mind in need of quiet. Have you ever laid awake at night, staring at the ceiling, feeling like you've missed something essential? Like no matter how much you've survived, how hard you've worked, or how far you've come, it's still not enough. That quiet ache, the whisper in the back of your mind saying, you should have done more by now, you should be further along. It doesn't shout, it lingers, soft but heavy. You can go through your entire day functioning, working, replying, cleaning, showing up, and still, by the time you collapse into bed, the weight returns. A low hum of inadequacy that never fully leaves. It's not always easy to explain. On the surface, your life might seem fine. Stable even. But deep inside, there's a quiet voice that keeps asking, why haven't you figured it out yet? Why does everyone else seem to have it together while you're still trying to feel okay? This feeling doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. The truth is, almost everyone carries some version of this internal pressure, even the ones who look like they're winning. The ones posting highlights, traveling the world, celebrating promotions. They struggle too. But we rarely see that side. What we feel instead is the constant thrum of falling behind, as if there's a race happening and we've somehow missed the starting gun. This voice, the one that tells you you're not enough, feeds on comparison, on unrealistic timelines, on expectations that were never yours to begin with. And unless we pause to question it, we start to believe it. We start to live by it. But you are not behind. You are not late. You are simply human, still unfolding, still learning, still becoming. And that is more than enough. It usually starts innocently. You're brushing your teeth, maybe making dinner, and you open your phone just to check something. A few swipes later, you're deep in a feed of other people's highlight reels. Someone just got engaged, someone else landed a new job, another friend is posting poolside photos from a 5-star resort in Bali. And suddenly, without warning, your perfectly ordinary evening starts to feel disappointing, small, embarrassing even. You were proud of yourself for cooking a proper meal tonight, but now it feels laughable compared to someone building a startup, renovating a house, or traveling the world with perfect skin and a wardrobe curated by the algorithm gods. You weren't unhappy before, but now you're questioning everything. That's how comparison works. It doesn't scream. It creeps in quietly, slides beneath your confidence, and starts eroding it from the inside. And the worst part? You don't even realize it's happening until you're already spiraling, questioning your worth, doubting your pace, resenting the life you were fine with 5 minutes ago. And it's everywhere. Because in a world wired for visibility, we've mistaken exposure for connection and achievement for value. We forget that most of what we see is manufactured, filtered, curated to impress. But even knowing that doesn't protect us, because logic doesn't stand a chance when your insecurities get triggered. Comparison doesn't care that you're doing your best. It doesn't care that you've survived things others will never know. It only cares that someone else is ahead, or looks like they are. And if you're not careful, it will convince you that your life is lacking, even when it's not. That you're failing, even when you're growing. But you're not behind. You're just being measured by a story that was never yours to follow. Comparison isn't a flaw in your character. It's a feature of your biology. Thousands of years ago, scanning your environment and assessing your place within it was a survival skill. Knowing your role in the group, recognizing threats, adapting to social cues. These things kept you alive. Your brain evolved to compare as a way of staying safe. To fit in was to survive. But what once kept us alive now slowly wears us down. In the modern world, we're not comparing food, safety, or shelter. We're comparing lives, identities, accomplishments, dreams. And we're doing it constantly, unconsciously, and without mercy. Your brain still thinks it's helping. It's trying to tell you where you rank in the tribe. But the tribe is now 8 billion people. And most of what you see is artificial. Social media has weaponized this instinct. Every scroll becomes a silent metric. Every photo, every caption, a data point in a comparison game you never asked to join. But your nervous system doesn't know the difference between real life and performance. It reacts as if you're falling behind, even when you're doing perfectly fine. And over time, that constant hum of inadequacy reshapes how you see yourself. You stop celebrating your growth. You stop trusting your pace. You forget your own timeline. Comparison isn't just exhausting, it's disorienting. It pulls you out of your life and into someone else's version of success. But when you understand that comparison is a reflex, not truth, you begin to reclaim power over your own path. Not by silencing the instinct, but by choosing not to obey it. Social media has become the lens through which we judge not only others, but ourselves. And the problem isn't just that people are posting their best moments. It's that we've forgotten they're only posting their best moments. Perfect angles, perfect lighting, curated captions, polished edits. What we see is the final frame, not the 23 failed attempts that came before it. We mistake the highlight reel for reality. And that illusion is costly. Because while you're sitting in your room, surrounded by dishes, undone tasks, a tired body, and a racing mind, you're scrolling through snapshots of someone else's brightest moment, the launch, the glow-up, the smiling couple, the picture-perfect routine. And you compare that to your behind-the-scenes mess. It's not a fair fight. You're comparing a full, flawed human life to a cinematic trailer. Of course you'll feel small. Of course you'll feel behind. Even when you know it's curated, the emotional impact remains. Logic says, this isn't the full story, but your nervous system reacts as if it is. As if everyone else has figured life out and you're the only one still struggling to fold laundry or get out of bed. But no one's posting the arguments. No one's showcasing their burnout. No one's uploading the shame, the doubt, the emptiness that follows the dopamine high of another like, another comment, another post. What you're seeing isn't life, it's performance. And the moment you remember that, you begin to loosen the grip. Not on connection, but on illusion. Here's the part no one tells you. Even when you finally reach the thing you've been chasing, the job, the degree, the body, the relationship, comparison doesn't stop. It simply shifts. You reach one milestone, and your mind immediately looks for the next person doing it faster, better, louder. You get the job, but someone else got the promotion. You run the race, but someone else ran it in half the time. You buy the house, and then scroll past someone who just bought a bigger one in cash. No matter where you land, someone seems ahead. And if you let it, that mindset will rob you of every moment of peace you've earned. That's the trap. Comparison is a moving target. It has no finish line, no moment of enough. Because it's not actually about what others have, it's about the fear that what you have doesn't matter. And that fear is insatiable. You start to believe that success must look a certain way, and if your life doesn't match that aesthetic, it must be lacking. But it's not. You're just measuring your reality against an illusion that keeps shifting further away the closer you get to it. It's exhausting. It's endless. And it's not your fault for feeling this way. But it is your responsibility to recognize the cycle and choose to step out of it. Not by achieving more, but by asking, what if I'm already living a life worth respecting? What if enough isn't somewhere out there, but something I decide from within? The first step to breaking free from the grip of comparison isn't a grand transformation. It's awareness. Pure, honest awareness. You can't heal what you don't see. And most of the time, we're so used to comparing ourselves that we don't even notice we're doing it. It feels automatic, like a reflex, a photo, a story, a success. And suddenly you feel smaller, heavier, less enough than you were a moment ago. But here's the thing. Just because something feels automatic doesn't mean it's beyond your control. The moment you pause and notice the feeling, there it is. That familiar tightening in the chest. That quiet voice saying, I'm not good enough. You create space between stimulus and reaction. That space is powerful. It's where you get to reclaim your agency. Where you get to say, that's comparison. That's not truth. That's a story my brain is telling. Name it. Gently. Without judgment. Because the moment you give your emotion a name, it loses its grip. It becomes something you can observe rather than something that controls you. You're not trying to suppress the feeling. You're just choosing not to be swept away by it. This practice doesn't eliminate insecurity, but it does soften its impact. And over time, the more you catch comparison in the act, calmly, consistently, the more you weaken its power. It's not about avoiding the feeling. It's about recognizing it and remembering you don't have to believe everything you feel. When you find yourself spiraling, heart sinking, self-worth shrinking, try this. Zoom out. Pull back the lens. Remind yourself that what you're seeing is not the whole story. It never is. That smiling photo? You don't see the anxiety behind the eyes. That celebratory post? You don't see the pressure it took to get there. That perfect morning routine? You don't see the insomnia, the conflict, the quiet doubts held just off screen. We all curate. We all show fragments. And even when people are being real, they're still editing. Still choosing what to share, how to frame it, and when. The truth is, you are comparing your unfiltered reality to someone else's strategically shared moment. It's like holding up your raw, scribbled notebook beside a published novel and calling yourself a failure. It's never a fair comparison because the contexts are entirely different. So instead of letting your mind collapse into that narrow frame, widen it. Breathe. Remember that every person you envy has their own backstage mess, their own shadows, their own story you'll never fully see. And maybe, just maybe, the parts of your life that feel boring, slow, or ordinary are actually the most sacred, the most real. Perspective is everything. When you stop believing the myth of perfection, you start making space for your own truth to feel valid. And in that space, self-respect begins to return. Not because you're winning, but because you're finally seeing clearly. When you catch yourself comparing, doubting, shrinking, pause. Not to correct yourself, not to force gratitude, but to return. To come back to a question most of us forget to ask: what actually matters to me? Because here's the truth. So much of what we envy, the luxury, the status, the pace, the aesthetics, isn't even aligned with what we deeply want. It's just loud, shiny, repetitive. And because we see it so often, we begin to believe it must mean something. But does it? Do you actually want a mansion? Or just peace and space to think? Do you want millions of followers? Or genuine connection? Do you want six-pack abs? Or to feel strong in your body and kind in your mind? So often, we chase things because we think we're supposed to. We pick up goals like souvenirs from someone else's journey. And when we don't feel fulfilled, we blame ourselves, instead of questioning the goal itself. This is why comparison is so dangerous. Not only does it make you feel behind, it distracts you from your own definition of enough. But when you strip back the noise, when you take an honest inventory of what you value, something shifts. You realize half the things that trigger your insecurity were never part of your personal vision to begin with. That clarity is power. Because when you know what matters to you, you can stop measuring your life by what matters to them. You stop chasing approval and start creating alignment. And in that alignment, your pace begins to make sense again. You begin to trust your steps, even if they look nothing like anyone else's. You can't control the entire world, but you can control what you let into your mind. Your attention is not limitless. It's not a passive thing. It's your most valuable resource, and it's being spent every single day, whether you're conscious of it or not. The question is, are you spending it wisely? Many of us move through our digital lives on autopilot. We scroll past things that subtly shrink us. We follow people who don't inspire us, but impress us just enough to make us feel inadequate. We keep consuming stories that make us question our own. And then we wonder why we feel so heavy, so behind, so never enough. But the truth is, your mental space is sacred, and it's your responsibility to protect it. Start small. Mute the accounts that always leave you drained. Unfollow the voices that trigger comparison more than clarity. You don't need to invite every image, every opinion, every ambition into your internal world. Instead, build a space that reflects what you value. Follow creators who remind you of what matters, not just what performs. Surround yourself with messages that root you, not rattle you. This isn't about living in a bubble. It's about choosing nourishment over noise. It's about curating a digital environment that aligns with your real priorities, not the algorithm's agenda. Because what you consume, you become. And what you allow in will shape what you believe is possible. You may not realize it yet, but everything you've been through, the quiet doubts, the late-night spirals, the moments you kept going when no one was watching, has been shaping something powerful inside you. Not the kind of power people clap for, not the kind that gets posted, but the kind that endures. You've been building courage every time you showed up when it was easier to hide. You've been building self-trust every time you listened to your gut instead of the noise around you. You've been building wisdom every time you learned something the hard way and chose to grow from it. These things don't come with medals, but they matter more than almost anything else. Because they don't fade when life gets hard again, they activate. They become your foundation, your fallback, your compass. So if you've ever thought, "I'm not ready," remind yourself, readiness isn't a feeling. It's not a moment when everything clicks. It's a choice to keep moving forward, even with shaky hands, even with doubt in your throat. You don't need to become someone else to be ready. You need only become aware of who you already are. And if you can honor that, if you can recognize the quiet strength that's been forming within you all along, then no matter what life asks of you next, you'll meet it not with fear, but with the quiet, steady truth. I've already been becoming the person I need to be.